Um, can think of two things really. Um, Number one is just like having the right circle around you, the right amount of people that are either going the same direction you are or can expand the way you think is huge, especially for me, coming from a small town in Wisconsin. So the people I can be around that are expanding the way I think helps a lot. With that, it kind of ties in with the second thing I was going to say, which is knowing your numbers and like actually having things that you can take action on. So like if you say you want these things out of life, house, business that's $1 million or whatever, like doing the math and understanding like what is it actually going to take to get there? Because if you can break it down like that, then it can be more achievable and you can actually take steps to getting to that rather than it just being this abstract thing that you're not really sure. Like, what are the steps that I need to take if I just need to reverse engineer that?
That's sick, man. I'm kind of getting giddy taking these notes. We're gonna have fun with this one, but before we hop into this, like, why don't you tell the guys who you are and what you do, and we'll just get into it, dude.
Yeah, Korey Jacobson. I am personal trainer in person and remote. Been doing it for 8 years now. Coach classes with that in person. Um, and from from Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, really small city in the cold.
In the cold, bro. It's funny. Normally I'm drinking coffee on these, but it just so happened that ironically I'm drinking protein while we're on this call with the personal trainer.
And is very approved.
It is, right? No, I mean, dude, so obviously you had 2 points and I thought they were both great. We'll kind of jump into the first one, but then I really want to get to the second one. So, it's interesting to me, um, talking about like coming from a small town and just like expanding the way you think. And it's funny because putting those two thoughts together, like small town, expanding the way you think. And I don't know if this is like something that you deal with. I don't necessarily see you as someone making excuses. But I've seen it a lot where it's like you have people that come from small towns and everyone's always looking to someone else on like why they have a better opportunity than you. Well,
Hmm.
oh, this personal trainer is more successful because they're in a metropolitan area than me. I'm in a small town, XYZ. Um, but the funny thing is at every level, I've come to realize that they all need, whether they take advantage of it or not, but they all need people to expand the way they think. There's always other ways of looking at something. And that's one of the things that I've like appreciated about Uncaged. Just one of the things I say about it when I'm like talking to people looking at join is like there's all different types of people, personalities, personas, like you name it. And like so even you might be the same, live in the same area, doing the same thing, but like hearing it done a different way, like a different twist to it, a different personality, a different persona. It's all something we can learn from. It might be what not to do, it might be
Hmm.
what to do, but like, as you've like started to see that, and again, I'm not saying like you're someone with that makes excuses, but have you started to see how like maybe some self-limiting beliefs have lifted kind of off your shoulders as you found new ways to think?
Yeah, yeah, I would say for sure. Um, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I used to play the victim, blame everybody else for my problems rather than taking ownership of my problems and um, blaming the government why I can't make money or, so many different things that I could throw out there of things that I used to blame this person, that person. They have better circumstances than I had. They have more connections than I have. And it all comes down to taking ownership of your life because it's your life. Nobody's ever going to live it for you. Nobody's going to make decisions for you. Nobody's going to tell you to go do something for you. Um, and I mean, people that have expanded my thinking have really challenged me more than anything. Like they've taken enough of an interest in me to challenge me to think bigger, to think differently, to try this differently, instead of just blaming somebody, taking ownership of yourself. And when it comes to something that I really want, and I get frustrated or I get stuck, and I go ask some of these people now that I know and trust and know that they've done the things that got them to where they are and they're successful people. Um, that if I ask them, they're going to challenge me on the way I'm thinking or the way I'm doing something. Um, and I've been really appreciative of that. Sometimes not in the moment. Sometimes definitely not in the moment. I've been challenged and I didn't like it, but I grew from it. I got better. In just being around different stories as well. You talked about different personalities, but there's different those different stories go right along with their personalities, and it's kind of made him who they are. And you see where people had worse circumstances than you, and they are not making any excuses at all. They're saying, "Fuck all of your excuses. I'm doing this because of it."
No, I like that. And we'll kind of like use this as like a segue between the two points that you brought up. So, like, again, from a small town, used to always blame everything on everyone else. You start to get introduced to this like new way of life or this new way of thinking. And as you go through that, have you seen like this like kind of like push and pull of like the new you trying to step forward, but the old you like kind of reminding you, but like remember where you came from, bro. Like you're a small town dude. Like you don't need all that. Like you don't need to make all that money. Like because I think oftentimes like in smaller towns, lower cost of living, things of that nature. Like, so, heard some stories where like people can really like it doesn't take much effort to be able to afford some of the necessities as well as some of the wants. And so like I think some of that can be an obstacle that could trip you up where it's like you get pulled back into this old way of thinking and we'll lead into it in a second about like knowing your numbers and being able to make things achievable. But like what was that journey like for you as you started to see your mind be opened up and you're like, oh shit, like I can give myself this super audacious goal of $1 million a year and like you kind of start down that path and then it's like oh shit but am I worth it, am I worthy of it, like this imposter syndrome or success guilt starts kicking in. Like what's that journey been like for Korey?
Constant struggle. I'm living it right now. Probably the past 3 months, I was pretty complacent. Fell back into old habits, not doing the things that I know that will lead me to where I want to go, and lead me to success or even sustaining success, falling into bad habits. So I'm pulling myself out of that right now, working on, making sure that I'm preparing myself and my mind. So less like distractions, less TV, less reading, like different books and stuff, and more of like going internal and giving myself space and time to reprioritize, to refigure out, okay, I am starting to go in the direction I don't want to go. Like I don't want this and I don't want to lose all this stuff that I've already built. So I need to take some time in my day to set my intentions, to make sure my mind's right, and I'm combating that voice of complacency and going back to old habits. And I've done this many times in the past 8 years of being a personal trainer, and kind of I command my own income. I have to, be the person that goes out there and does the stuff to get my income. Um, so there's been many, many different times. And when I first started, the mindset of was like, I don't want to be a business owner because I don't want to deal with the hassle of what I've seen them deal with, right? And that part of that was like, I don't even believe that I could do it, right? There was imposter syndrome, doubt, a lot of self-doubt through that. Still deal with it today, but it's turned down because I can ignore that voice and I can combat it and I can recognize when that's coming up and when that fear is triggering and all those things. And I can pause and be like, wait, that's not true at all. I've already proved to myself that I can do a lot more than I thought I could. So it's constant struggle. I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Mm.
And I think if we talk to anybody, they're all going to say the same thing, is there's going to be a constant battle in your mind unless, I mean, there's always the rare people that are just like, I know I got this. I deserve a hell of a lot more than what I have right now.
Right. It's funny because like you're in an industry where like, it's kind of easy to conceptualize that tricky thought process on like business, the difference between business ownership, like an operator versus like more of a technician. And that's like, so, I've even seen this in my own life in the past, right? Where it's like, all right, you're in a gym and someone signs up for personal training and the gym charges $60 a session, but the coach who's doing all the work, so to speak, all the work they can see is getting paid 20. And they're like, well, motherfucker, they're making two-thirds of it and they're not doing anything. Whereas like now, it's like I'm gonna go start my own personal training business. And then you're like, oh shit, it is a lot more work than just walking people through the diets and the exercises and the coaching and the in-person motivation and if the follow-up. Like there's a lot more that goes into the sales and the retention and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And like just I kind of giggle when I'm saying this out loud. Like the modern day version of this that we're all seeing, right, is like the roofing industry. Like you got these guys that join a roofing company and they're making honestly kind of fuck you money. So here's they have the ability to kind of branch off if they want financially, and they think they know it all. They're tired of paying the business owner all this money and overhead when they think they're doing all the work. And so they're like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna go start my own business. And so many of them go starting their own roofing companies and they end up failing. Like, so there is like a lot on the back end. And the reason I wanted to kind of use this conversation to like segue knowing your numbers is a lot of like everyone at some point started out just themselves, right? And it's intimidating when it's just you, especially to your point. Like I feel like some of us go lock ourselves in a room and we're like fucking spinning around like a tornado wondering what the fuck to do, where to go, what the next move is, and we're just sitting there with our thoughts and we have no one to really kind of bounce this idea. All the risk is on our shoulder, but also, yeah, all the reward is too. But it's a very dangerous cycle if you don't have these people to help break it down into like a molecular level, which is like what you've started to experience is like, all right, bro, like we need to know our numbers. How much money do you need to survive? Cool. What do we need to do to retain enough clients to do that? What do you need to scale? How do we put a plan together to get there? Like, and we start really evaluating what takes Korey. If Korey now knows, like, hey, doing this all alone is like not really the best for me as a specific human being. Like, what is next? Like, how do you bring on additional coaches, or how do you bring on, an assistant, or how do you bring on someone to help sell and market you, right? And like being around some of these people that like kind of given you this vision on getting Korey to where Korey only does what he loves to do and what he wants to do. Like, what has any of that like left any type of lasting impact on you, or like what have you learned along the way, like through that journey of being someone? Again, I'm gonna go like quote it, like air quote it, and I don't mean any disrespect, but like someone that came from a small town and someone that's never been taught this before is like kind of and maybe you're like fuck, I'm this old just now learning this stuff. Like what you're like, what's that kind of has that lit a new fire under you? Has it been like, what's that like thought process when you think of like, oh shit, like maybe this could be bigger than just Corey?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth many times about that. Um, I always try to think about, well, first off, whenever I'm struggling, like trying to figure out what do I do, having people there to help you like simplify it, or hey, so what's the next thing that you need to do, or so your goal is this. Well, have you been doing this? So when you're just overthinking everything and you're in that room locked in by yourself, when your wheels are just turning, having somebody to go to and ask like, I've thought about this 10 different ways. I know I am thinking way too much. This is what I got. Can you help me simplify it?
Mhm.
Having that in your corner is huge,
Mhm.
because people are outside of your situation. They're thinking a lot more clearly than what you are thinking. So they're like, okay, we'll start doing that. If you haven't been, we need to start. If you've already doing that, how can we improve it? And just going step by step like that, having somebody divorced from the situation that has a clear head on it and can help you is very, very valuable, because we all tend to overthink. We all tend to beat ourselves up more than we should, on those types of things, especially when it's you by yourself. Um, Luckily, I do have people in my corner that in person too, and not just Uncaged, but both are very valuable because Uncaged thinks way differently than people that I have in person. So both different perspectives, and there's many different perspectives in both aspects, but having those help a ton. And there's people I can go to here in person, and there's people I can go to Uncaged, and I know that um, when I'm not where I want to be, I know that I can get a gut check from them and understand like you can do this. Everybody else can do it. Why not you?
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and as you were kind of talking in the very, very beginning and talking about how you can turn some of these goals into like a mathematical problem. Obviously, I know I'm gonna get made fun of for that, but like that is like the vehicle to like achievability, right? Like to be able to reverse engineer some of this stuff and like again, like I like leveraging this because there's a lot of people that come from smaller towns, right? And again, like, you hear some numbers or examples or this or that, and people think it's unachievable for them, right? And whether that's like, oh, I want to make $1 million a year or $1 million a month, or, I want to work with 100 clients or I want to work with 1,000 clients. Like, as you've like gotten through and started reverse engineering the numbers, as far as like the likelihood of achievement, what has that done for you where like you set yourself an audacious goal and then once you reverse engineered it, you've been like, oh, like that's actually not that bad. And like at what point do you start believing again from the small town mindset of being like, oh, I could never do that till you're like, I fucking got this. Like what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, just putting it down on paper, breaking it down into smaller chunks makes it more believable for me personally. Like, if I do want to do 100 clients in a year or two or whatever that is, and then it's how many per week do I need? How many calls do I need to do per week? How many per day do I need to be doing? Um, when you break it down to that and it's just daily actual things, it's way more believable for me personally than what that big picture is. So if I can just break it down into smaller chunks and, oh, yeah, I only have to make 3 calls today, that's it. Okay, so let's get on that then. Um, or I only have to send 10 messages today. Okay, super easy to do. Let's just start banging those out. Um, yeah, breaking it down is the reason why I believe that I can do it.
Hmm.
If I never did that and understood like these are the actions that I need to take each day, and they're not overwhelming, there's not 1,000 clients that I need to contact in order to get 10. Like if I can just do 3 calls, 1 sign up, boom, we're good. It's smaller, manageable. Um, then it's just doing it every day and having the discipline and consistency to do that over time and building that up.
No, that's cool. It's funny you said that because I just took a note of it. I was actually just talking to someone else in Uncaged about this 2 hours ago. So I was talking about Parkinson's law, which is a phenomenon that states basically um, action will shrink or expand based on like the allotted time amount of time given to it, right? And so
Mhm.
I was like explaining that you're like, oh, I'm gonna use it for round numbers. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get 120 new clients this year. Well, you drag your feet for the first 90 days, and then you're like, oh, I still got 9 months. Like we can still hit the target. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna get 120 clients in the next 9 months. You drag your feet for another 30 days or 90 days. And then you're like, well, shit, we only have 6 months left. Well, I'll just double my effort the back half of the year, but we're still gonna get 120 clients this year. And then another 90 days goes by, and you're like, well, shit, there's only 90 days left. Like, we might as well wait till next year for that goal or whatever. And you see that like kind of slippery slope. Whereas, per this example, it's like, well, 120 clients a year, that's 10 a month. 10 a month, it breaks down to like every other working day, you can close a new client, right? So then it's like, what has to happen between in those 2 working days to create a new acquisition of a client. It makes it significantly more achievable. But now what you've done is you've shrank your time commitment of this goal from 365 days to 2 days, right? Or the amount of work that needs to happen in a day. And so, like, once you start to look at that process, it makes things again, and it leverages real science and psychology. Like Parkinson's law is a real fucking thing. I didn't make it up. And so, like, when you start to study some of these like efficiency hacks, um, it's like, what are you doing in your day-to-day life to make your dream life become reality, which is what we actively talk about inside of Uncaged. And so, for me, it's like, it begins with the end in mind, right? Like, so you have to create this dream life and you have to understand what it's going to be required of you to achieve it. And then we bring it all the way down. And for those of us who are going through it right now, like it's a 5 year sprint, like from where you are now to where you want to be, how do we get there in 5 years? You break that down into 60 months, which is, you know, basically it's 20 quarters. So you have the 20 quarters into, 5 years into 20 quarters, 20 quarters into 60 months, 60 months, basically into 365 days. And it's those 365 days that is what matters because if you win enough days, you win the week. You win enough weeks, you win the month. You win enough months, you win the quarter. Or win enough quarters, you win the year. Win enough years, you win the dream life, right? And that's that piece that like I think most people don't understand. And that doesn't matter what type of city you come from or where in the country you're at. Is it sounds stupid. And I think that like I get my own self caught up sometimes when we talk through some of these frameworks and programs. So I'm like, man, this sounds really basic. Like it sounds very elementary, but to its core, it is. But it's just the stuff that has to happen in order to be successful. And like, as you started to like really engage inside Uncaged and take leadership roles and like do the work, like, can you see how like maybe and this is a genuine question. If it's not, it's not. But can you see like how your life has progressed when doing the daily tasks?
Yes. Simple answer, yes. Because I can see that I'm actually making progress to that goal. There's tangible things that are happening, whether I'm getting more clients or whether I'm on more calls or my clients are having more success or whatever that is. Um, I am seeing the results either daily or weekly or whatever, but it's often enough to where you know that, okay, I'm doing this, I'm seeing progress, I'm seeing results of where I want to be going. And it's just that cycle of you're feeling good, so you're going to keep doing it. Um,
And it's funny because it does relate, in my opinion, to the gym, right? You know, um, you'll see some people, and listen, I don't want to fucking get into this like argument of what's more important, motivation or inspiration or discipline, or it's not this, it's not that, it needs to be this. And the pure fact of it all is there's levels to this, right? So, like, with entrepreneurship, and we'll use it as um the gym example is like at some point, like you had to be inspired to get healthy. And then you needed to self motivate yourself into going to the gym. And the
mhm,
more inspired and the more motivated you were, that is what led to your discipline. But then the more disciplined you get, the more motivated and inspired you are to get to the next level, right? Like sometimes it's just go outside and go on a walk. And you
mhm,
start doing that and you become disciplined to that. You fucking walk every fucking day. And it's like, well, shit, this kind of motivates me and inspires me to see what else I could do. So you start going to the gym. You start going to the gym, you start lifting weights, and you're like, start to see your muscles grow, and you're like, shit, this is like motivating me, inspiring me to eat healthier. And then so you start eating healthier and you start getting more and more shredded. And like that gets you fucking excited. So you're like, well, how can I dial in my recovery even more? You start dialing in your recovery even more, and it motivates you, inspires you to like start focusing more on like longevity of life. And like, so like it it's a cycle of like being inspired by something, self-motivating yourself into believing you can accomplish it, You then become disciplined. And once you've gotten disciplined in one arena, theoretically that discipline doesn't leave you. You just expound on that and you grow to that next level. And then same thing. And what's cool about this is once you start going down the cycle, you're inspiring your own self at this point. And then that self-motivation becomes easier and easier. And then that path to discipline becomes shorter and shorter because like you become a man that does what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And I think that's been really cool. And like obviously like that's directly applicable to like the fitness world, but like, are you also seeing that happen like entrepreneurially as well?
Yeah. And I like the way that you put it is it's the simple things that you're doing every day. You're motivated, inspired to start something, and you're starting super simple. Even if it's just a walk, it's still a progression up from where you were. And you need to get wins under your belt, both fitness and entrepreneurship. You need to get wins under your belt as soon as possible. And you can't think that those wins are going to be, I already got $1 million. You can't think about you're just going to get there with little to no effort. You have to slowly step that out, make it very simple to take action on. And if it's so simple you can take action on it every single day, you're going to see the results from it. You're going to get more inspiration because you got those results. You're going to get more motivation because you got those results. You're going to add something to it. And once something becomes disciplined, you don't really think about it anymore. You don't need to be inspired to do it because it's part of who you are.
Mm.
Um, so I felt that for sure. Um, and it's only when I take that step back of like complacency and doubt kind of overwhelmed me for a little while that I re-engage that and I restart this cycle again of taking simple actions over and over again. I'm motivated, I'm inspired because I'm sick of losing things that I already gained. So I need to re-engage, re-lock in, start simple, start stacking those wins, start building that discipline again, and then adding on after I've gotten some discipline back into my life
Mm.
with with the things that I was doing already. Like I know the path that I need to take. I've done it many times in my life of taking that step back. Oh, let's re-engage. Let's start back here again. Let's keep working that up. And then since you've been doing it before, you've getting better at this skill and these different skills that you've already been stacking. So now okay, boom, I can, once I'm disciplined with that, let's add the next step, the next challenge to
Mm.
make myself grow and grow this business.
And it's funny you say that because like I'm gonna say this and it's just ironic that you're a personal trainer, but it's like you have to grow this muscle, right? Like, the different levels of success are behind different levels of competition or roadblocks or, fear and doubt, it's crazy, but like at first like before you can be scared that you're gonna sell a business for $1 billion, you're probably gonna be scared that you're gonna sell a business for $1 million, right? Like there's this, so that like as you start to go and you start to realize like, oh, I could sell a business for $1 million, like it starts to become believable. It's like, all right, well, what's next? You're like, well, let's sell for 10 million. You're like, oh man, that's kind of scary. I don't know if that's achievable. And you start to like, get your nuts under you and you're like, all right, 10 million we can do. And then becomes fuck, the next is 100 or what, right? And it's just there's this constant progression. And each one of them is behind a new level of curveballs and roadblocks and things that you need to either go around, go over, go under, go through. And it's up to you to go back to the basics, like you said. Like I know what to do. It's a matter of just repeating these steps. They're just at different levels, all right? Like at first it's scary and then it gets a little less scary and then it's just only kind of scary and then it's not really scary. And then it gets to the point where it's like, oh, there's my confidence. Like I got this. And as you grow through this, it just becomes different levels. And for me, it's like to be able to notice these imposter syndrome or whatever the case is, or even just find the confidence in yourself of like, look at my proven track record, bro. I'm a man that does what he says he's going to do when he says he's going to do it. Why the fuck am I worried about this? And if you're able to look at that, the objective should be to get out of this thought process sooner and get to work quicker. I think is, massively important. Um, You got anything else when it comes to that, bro? Like as far as like what you've done to like find momentum in yourself and like some self-confidence and then use that as like the propellant forward?
Yeah, I mean, I want to kind of continue on with your track before you asked me that question was, and it's awareness and it's improving yourself as well. Like most of us are probably held back because we haven't been working on ourselves enough, or we got to this certain level where we think we're good, but we're not. We're not going to sell $1 million or $1 billion business if we're at $1 million self. Like we haven't improved ourselves enough to get there yet. Um, and it's the awareness to know that, right? It's the awareness to know that I'm the bottleneck. I need to start working on myself more again. I need to expand myself in order to lead all these people or in order to meet this next person or, it's that self-awareness to know that you need to improve yourself in order to improve other aspects of what you're going through. Um, that has been a big piece of my self-confidence is understanding more of myself, my thought process, and when I know I'm not living up to what I am capable at this moment, because I've built myself up to being better, doing more, and I know that I can do it because I've done it, and I know that I have the awareness now, and sometimes I just don't want to recognize the signals that I'm getting um, from myself in that complacent place. Yeah. And there's always signals telling me, hey, you're not doing shit anymore. Why
Yeah.
aren't you doing that? You know you can, you know you have this. Um, and it's just being able to more aware of those thoughts, start working on myself again, and start expanding myself to take on more. And that gives me a lot of confidence because I've done it many times already. And I know that I just need to put in the effort, put the time aside to do that.
Man, that's a banger, bro. That shit's good. Man, if you want to get to that next level, you got to get yourself prepared for that level, and that's literally the fucking fact of it. Well, bro, I want to be respectful of your time, dude. I want, this has been, I mean, shit, dude. I feel like we just started talking. We're already 30 minutes in. Of course, like I love these topics like this, just always trying to improve myself. And like I said, not just me, but the people around me, so that way when it's my time to come ask for some help, you got some bad motherfuckers around you to help. Well, man, with that said, dude, what is there anything that we can do to pay you back for the time that you spent here with us today?
Um, Continue to work on yourselves. I think I'm not a very selfish person in asking for things, but what I want people to do is just to continue to improve their lives. Because I've seen what it's done for me, and I want other people to experience that as well. I want other people to step up into what they can do. And we're always limiting ourselves, and we have to realize that limit is what we need to break through. And so, if you can take anything away from this conversation from me and Zach, is just making sure that you are always trying to improve yourself.
Fucking love it, bro. Well, dude, I appreciate you guys. If you are listening to this, if you want to reach out to Korey for whatever odd reason, obviously, more than welcome to reach out to him directly. If you can't find him for whatever odd reason, reach out to myself or anyone else in Uncaged. We'd be more than happy to connect you with him. Other than that, we love you guys and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.